All right, welcome this afternoon. Before our county commission meeting, we do have one other meeting. It's hopefully a short one. Oh, yes, who do we have on the line that I can check with? Adam Beck, or can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, Commissioner.
Fantastic. We can hear you loud and clear. Okay, so we have one meeting before. It's the Board of Directors for Municipal Building Authority. A couple items that are on our agenda for that. And so we will start with that meeting, and then we'll move to our commission meeting. So again, we have two items on there. The first one is to approve the minutes from the December 9th, 2020 Municipal Building Authority of Utah County. And I realize, Commissioner Sakovich, you weren't there necessarily for that. But I suggest that we...
I've reviewed the notes and minutes, and I'm ready to motion to approve items 1 and 2.
Now we'll suspend I'll suspend the rules so that I can second and take action in the meeting, and I'll second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. The second one is to approve the authorization to execute the form as we have in our packet. Any questions to that?
No questions. I'm ready to make a motion to approve item number 2, if there's no further discussion.
And I will second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Is there any public comment on this meeting? Very good. None online? Okay. Final motion for this meeting.
Make a motion, we adjourned the Board of Directors, Municipal Building Authority of Utah County.
I will second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now adjourned from that meeting. Okay, we will move now into our regular Board of County Commission meeting. Oh, let's wait for the button to be pushed and transfer. Okay, now we're in the Board of County Commission meeting. I'm assuming the people online can still hear us. And as always, we start with a prayer, a reading, or a thought, and the Pledge of Allegiance. We look to the audience that's here with us to participate with us in that. Is there anybody that is willing to give a prayer, reading, or thought? Or you can also volunteer for the pledge. Either one. Anybody? Okay. We'll pull it back up here to the board then. Do you have a preference? I'll do whichever. I'll do
the pledge this time.
Pledge? Okay. I will offer the prayer then. Our Heavenly Father, we thank Thee, Father, for the opportunity that we have to assemble peaceably and to be able to talk about issues, concerns, and be able to vote and listen to the public and listen to each other as we make decisions. We're thankful, Father, for the great people in this county, for the good workers that are here in the county government as well. We pray for those who are protecting our liberties and our safety, and we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you for participating with us in that. We have a number of items on our agenda. Just for housekeeping measures, we do have listed a consent agenda, and what we will do, and you'll notice there's nothing underneath that consent agenda because we'll go through a process of moving things to the consent agenda, and we'll do that by not holding it for discussion. And so if we go, well, as we build our agenda and going through the regular agenda, if we haven't specifically held that item, it will just automatically move to the consent agenda for either what it says, ratification, approval, adoption, or authorize. And that will be by unanimous consent by both commissioners that are here. And just for purposes, again, for this meeting, the rules that we normally have, I will suspend those rules so that I can second and/or make motions, because there's only two commissioners here. So with that, let's look at our regular agenda. Items 1 through 10, we'll start there.
I request to hold 5 and 8.
5 and 8.
Excuse me, not 8. I'm sorry. I corrected myself. Not 8, just 5.
Okay, great. Maybe on 8, I think just a remark on that. I don't mind leaving it on
Okay.
consent, but
That'll be fine.
a remark that this is cost neutral.
Yes.
It's a cost neutral measure. There's no, and again, the word in there, there's a temporary
Yeah, it's a
increase.
6-week temporary.
Yep.
Cost neutral.
We can leave it on, and I agree that we can leave it on consent. So the only one that we're pulling off is number 5 so far. Okay, 11 through, let's go 11 through 17. Or why don't we go all the way through 11 through 19? Any on those that we need to hold?
I don't see any, no.
Okay,
Commissioners, this is Rob Moore. On number 17, that does include an addendum number 1, which has been uploaded to your agenda as well today and sent to you via email a little bit earlier, just barely.
okay.
Thank you.
Do you recommend that we hold that for discussion then, Rob?
Only if you want to. We're just adding a first right of refusal to it. That's all it's doing.
Okay, I'm fine with that then.
Yeah, just with the clarification that is with the addendum, that
Okay.
should be sufficient.
So I'm fine leaving it on consent then with the addendum, first right of refusal. Somebody thought that was funny. All right. All right, then let's move to 20 through 23.
I request we hold number 20.
Number 20, we'll hold number 20. I don't have any others.
I have no
And on-
others, no.
And then 24 through 27.
I believe we have something from council.
24 and 25, we would like to have those set.
Okay, 24 and 25, we will hold those, and 26 and 27 consented that they will be stricken.
That's,
Okay. I think that takes us through the building portion of that. I'll just reiterate. We are going to leave on our regular agenda items number 5, item number 20, 24, and 25. All other items will move to our consent agenda to be agreed upon, ratified, or approved. Any comments to that?
nope.
Okay. Okay. Then with that, let's move to number 5, which is to reconsider some property tax actions taken regarding the recommendation letter 2021-1.
After our meeting last week, I did some additional digging, and I went over the summaries, the data sheets that you have with you, Commissioner Lee. And I was looking at the requests and the recommendations with that. And at the time, I had not had all of the information in front of me. But I, at the same time, had considered extensions that were given to me personally in my own life, others that I've known. Usually when there's a due date, they tend to give you an additional 10 days to make the payment before a late fee is assessed, and 30 days before that bill might be sent to collections or other actions. And there have been times for me, as a personal note, in '91, when tens of thousands of us were honorably released from active duty with a thank you after the Kuwaiti War. It was within weeks after the war. I found that I was not able to get the work I had hoped to have, and I wound up doing a lot of work for the Marine Corps as a reservist and traveled throughout this country, even Hawaii, far away to land there. So I was gone for months at a time. But prior to that, I had a vehicle that I could no longer pay for. So I called up the dealership and said, where do I turn the car in? Funding is going out, can't do any more to pay it. And they said, don't do that. So they worked with me. So for the next 6 months, I stayed in touch with them once every month. And no penalties assessed, no bad credit score from it. But they allowed me to keep the car for those 6 months and allowed me to go back and forth to do what I need to do. And given the history, what I saw on the spreadsheet that you have a copy of, Mr. Lee, there was more than just the one that was denied last week, other than the Carter Trust item. And so I give that to you at this late notice. There was Carter's, but also several others. Pamela Stage, which I've highlighted there. Chung Chen, Joaquin Holdings, Landon Williams, Benjamin Wohan, Matthew Carter Garage Office, Alan Ingersoll, and Jared Lundell. Given the content that I read, and as I mulled over after the meeting, I thought there should be some additional allowances made for these individuals, and wanted to instead reverse my motion last week and instead approve one or more of all of these of this list.
All right, I appreciate that. Just on a procedural basis, for me, I was. Didn't mean to be that dramatic about it. I only saw one item on our agenda, and so I don't mind reconsidering these, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't put that off till next week, so I at least have the opportunity to go down through them. Like I said, the only one that I even was prepared for was the Carter one.
Yes, I saw that was missing, but I was gone quite a bit, so I wasn't able to address and bring it to your attention sooner.
So I'm not prepared to
Okay.
consider. I wonder if we shouldn't just continue this for next week.
Including the current one, or just
Yeah,
go
all
ahead?
of them. Yeah,
All
we
of them
could-
together?
yeah.
Okay, let's do that then.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we continue for 1 week then, March 20 or 31st.
Okay, and is that the right, is it 31st? Okay, and I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's continued for 1 week. Okay. Number 20 is to set a date, time, and location for a public hearing to discuss and amend the 2021 budget, the Utah County General Fund and other budgetary funds, and it goes on. And so, Commissioner?
Catch up on my notes. Thank you. Item 20 purpose is to open the county 2021 budget. The purpose is to revisit the county budget and adjust it to best meet the county government's current and future statutory responsibilities, and to continue to maintain a robust financial standing while reducing unnecessary taxes on county residents and businesses. Based on the current data available to me, and there's quite a bit more than this, but these are summaries that I've tried to wean down. The county revenue and expenses for 2020, it appears that the approved 19.4 million property tax increase is significantly higher than is needed and places an undue hardship on county residents and businesses. The 64 tax increase that was proposed and eventually adopted was made contrary to the July 2020 advice of the Bipartisan Utah Taxpayer Association. It's an online newsletter they had circulated for all government entities. In summary, opening the budget allows the county to use the next 3 weeks to finalize 2020's revenues and expenses and plan for future statutory requirements. As a commissioner, I keep in mind the extra burden this tax increases place on the residents and businesses within Utah County. And with that, I move to approve item number 20 as written on the agenda.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. Just for note, for myself, I've been looking for an opportunity to reduce that tax rate as well. And this is our opportunity to talk about that and find the method that works best. And it will also give us, hopefully by that time, we'll see some funds that will come in from the federal government, probably about half. And then we can put them into the budget to be appropriated in the proper order.
And as a note, as I reviewed it, if COVID never happened, if the grants that have come in are still expected to come in, this does not include any of that. So we're just taking the budget as if the real world, where we did not have all this extra funds, one-time cash coming in, never came in. So that's how I approached this review.
Very good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Okay, that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. We do have 2 work session items.
You got 24 and 25 too. We'll do those now or later.
We're going to do that after the work session.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we have set those.
You haven't set them, they were just held.
Oh,
Oh, that's
no,
right.
I meant
Yeah,
to
we
set
did
them.
not do
We
that.
will set them. Thank you, Dave. So let's set them. I'm used to the old way, right? Instead of this new way of trying to do it. So let's go ahead and set those
Yeah,
2.
I make a motion that we approve and set a date, time, and location for closed meeting to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual or individuals for today's date, directly after the regular work session.
And you said 24.
Excuse me, a regular agenda item,
You said 24 and 25, right?
24 and 25.
Okay, and I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 2-0. Thank you, Dave. Now we will move to our work session items. We have 2 work session items. The first one is the Utah Local Governments Trust presentation regarding the free pilot program. And Steve Hansen is here to do that presentation. And then after that, we'll go to the next presentation, which will be by Eagle Mountain regarding the RDA for the Sweetwater. So Steve.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and just spend a few minutes here and talk about what we have. I'm the CEO of the Utah Local Governments Trust, and we are your insurance partner. We are a governmental entity and insure over 560 government entities across the state of Utah. And we're always doing things to try to help our members achieve their goals and objectives around safety and loss prevention and professional development.
And thank
to
you.
the extent
Thank
we
you for
can
the
do.
great work that you do.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you very much. And so what we have today that I want to review is a pilot program that we are inviting you to participate in free of charge. And really, it's about simplicity, effectiveness, and being compliant with state and local federal regulation regarding training. We have partnered with Cantola.com as well as the Training Network Now platforms. Both of these platforms working together provide a very important mix to help address this issue. And let me just start first of all with Training Network Now. This is a platform that has about 775 titles, many of which are bilingual, covering a large range of safety issues, some professional development, leadership, and those types of things. This is a simple platform that we have provided one password and one username to the county that provides that you're able to use in your organization, unlimited, no limit on how many people can be in the product at the same time, and also provides you with feedback on anybody who takes the training. There's a test at the end of the training, a quiz, and then there are discussion points that can be discussed as teams or groups and that type of thing. Then we have the Cantola product. Cantola.com is a learning management system out of California that is fantastic. And what they have done that's a little bit different, they have partnered with Littler Mendelson, which is the largest labor and employment practice in the world, to develop this training. In addition, they have partnered with Stanford University to create the business briefing series, where they've gone in and had several CEOs, Ed Catmull, president and CEO of Disney Pixar Animations, and he's delivered a keynote or a 50-minute message on creativity. And so that's also available. This product allows you to actually assign training to any group in your organization, to monitor that progress, and then to see who's completed that training. So you have the files and backup that are needed, and also to make sure that your employees are gaining the best opportunity to prevent loss and injury. So I'd like to just I've got 3 videos, and they're about 2 minutes each. One's a little bit less than that. This just goes over the actual learning management system from Cantola, and I'm gonna roll that now.
Cantola's learning management system allows you to easily manage the training needs of your entire organization, from just one employee to thousands. No matter where they're located, you can assign courses, monitor progress, and use our convenient tools to make sure your training gets done on schedule with minimal effort on your part. Let's take a quick tour. Once you've purchased online courses, you will be sent a login to your customized training portal and administration center. You'll see the courses you've purchased, preloaded and ready to assign to employees. Assignments can be done on an individual basis, or you can bulk upload hundreds or thousands with a simple spreadsheet. You can set up training groups by role, location, function, and other characteristics, helping you to quickly assign courses and due dates based on the needs of each group. Notification emails to keep employees on track or announce new courses can be sent on an individual or group basis. Use our preloaded templates or personalize your own messages. Easily monitor the progress of learners through your training dashboard. You'll know where they are in the course, how they did on the quiz, and when they last logged in. This level of insight allows you to spot problems early on, so you can take steps in plenty of time to keep your training on track. A sort feature allows you to easily send reminders to those who haven't started, encouragement to those in progress, or congratulations to those who have completed. You can even purchase additional licenses with just a few clicks, meaning you'll never run out of space for new learners. Learners have just as easy a time when taking their courses, available 24/7, and courses can be viewed and quizzes taken on any device. Cantola's commitment to your success doesn't stop there. Our learning management system includes help videos that show you how to accomplish any task, and a dedicated Cantola representative is just a call or an email away from helping you with any questions you have about using the platform. Join the growing list of organizations that use Cantola to fulfill their training needs today.
Now, the reason we partnered with Cantola is because of, number one, the quality of their product, but also the ease of use. And the good news is that what we do is we provide all the back-end support as well as part of this pilot program, which, by the way, if this works out for you, you are extended the invitation to continue with a no-fee cost at all, as long as you're with the trust and as long as you're using this product and you're finding it beneficial. Let me now jump to 2 other videos that talk about, this is really where Littler Mendelson has come into play. That's the law firm that is the largest firm in the world on labor and employment law. These are 2 areas, the harassment training and diversity and inclusion training that I'll show you a 2-minute video on after this. This gives you a flavor for the quality of this training. They've partnered with folks in Hollywood and done actual scenario-based learning so that it's powerful and so that it really sticks to your employees.
We know you depend on harassment training to meet your compliance needs, but good harassment training can do so much more. It can help you equip your supervisors, share what is and is not acceptable behavior, reassure all that they will be taken seriously, empower bystanders to help their coworkers, raise awareness among oblivious offenders, and notify harassers that their time is up. Your choice of training is your voice to your employees about harassment. This is why we at Cantola care about creating thought-provoking, engaging, and impactful training. It's why we teamed up with Littler, America's largest labor and employment practice, to create our best harassment prevention e-learning course yet. With fully compliant, up-to-date manager and employee solutions for New York, California, and everywhere in between. It's why we write story-based, relatable scripts and shoot on real job sites. It's also why we use cutting-edge, interactive, and customizable approaches that are divided into micro-learning modules to educate and entertain our learners. That works on your computer, tablet, or phone. It's why we shoot all our award-winning videos in Hollywood, using feature film directors and talented actors. And it's why we have developed our own full-featured, easy-to-use learning management system. We've made it simple to set up users, automate email reminders, track attendance, keep records, and add your company policies and logos. And if you prefer, we can deliver the same great course to your learning management system instead. So join the many thousands of organizations who have relied on Cantola's training solutions and see how impactful and enjoyable a required training can be.
So the extra commentary was not part of it.
That's right.
Hopefully do we have that muted now? Okay. All right. Yeah, so that commentary was
right.
different. I didn't want to chime in because I figured it would throw it all off even worse.
Sure. That gives a flavor of the quality and the production behind this, and that's a key training that all of your employees should be having at least once a year. Let me just show you one additional training now as a Cantola Diversity, Equity, Inclusion training.
Maybe before you push that button, I'm just gonna, if you're online, please put your microphones on mute to help us too. Oh, is it? Can we put everybody on mute?
Good. Oh, no problem. I understand.
Okay.
This is an area that we need to be doing more training in, this diversity and inclusion training. It's a very important part of what we do as an insurance company to try to help you as members understand the importance of these issues and these trainings. I'm just going to roll this now.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does this mean for today's workforce?
I drive a bus.
I'm an arts educator.
I am an engineer with a specialty in aerospace engineering.
I identify as a professional, as a dad, as an athlete.
I identify as a first-generation Mexican-American, U.S.-born citizen.
I identify
as
an uncle,
A business owner,
a girlfriend,
director,
an artist,
a doctor,
and someone who deals with mental illness.
Our communities and workplaces are becoming more diverse. Our organizations benefit from these different perspectives, but there is also a risk if we don't support diversity properly. In a collaborative partnership with Littler, the world's largest labor and employment practice, Cantola Training Solutions offers an all-new interactive course to help you meet the moment. This holistic diversity, equity, and inclusion course is for employees at all levels of your organization. It creates a safe learning space for everyone and shows how different people can experience the same workplace in very different ways. Learners will have opportunities to practice what they learn through highly interactive scenarios based on concrete and relatable examples. In addition to key definitions and concepts, the course covers topics such as identities and perspectives, unconscious bias, microaggressions, and other forms of exclusion. And finally, it teaches learners what they can do proactively to support diversity and inclusion in their workplace. This training is an important component of most workplace culture initiatives, especially when combined with Cantola's critically acclaimed anti-harassment online interactive courses. Join the growing list of organizations that choose Cantola Training Solutions to fulfill your employee training needs today.
And of course, as we know, the effectiveness of training depends on delivery, content, format, and that's what we've tried to do with this product. Now, I will also show you that each Cantola product, as well as the Training Network Now product, comes with a quiz and also leader materials so that somebody can download, for example, this, building a diverse equity and inclusion program within your own organization. This is downloadable for anybody who watches this program, and they're able to actually go through and talk about these things as a group and as their own teams. And I'll just flip through some of the material so you can get an idea of what comes with that. The idea is to really get the training going inside so that you're able to do this. And this is in addition to, of course, the training that we provide at the Trust on site and as well as at the Trust in North Salt Lake as well. This is just a sampling of some of the titles. They have 69 different titles that cross leadership, diversity, equity, harassment, and those types of things. Most are between 15 minutes and 30 minutes. Some are 50 minutes, but generally, that's the cadence and time on those. Now, our other product, as I mentioned, is the Training Network Now. And this is one password for your entire organization, also one username for your entire organization, giving you full unlimited access. This training also comes with, every time somebody takes one of these, of course, we have the records behind the scene as well, which we can provide to you. But you also, what I do in my own organization is I invite our employees to take a class, for example, in defensive driving. And they will take whichever one they choose. And then at our staff meeting, I invite them to share their thoughts and experience on what they felt as they were watching this training. We did that also with the Cantola product and had them comment on the two trainings that you saw there, as well as the Pixar one by Ed Catmull on creativity, which was fascinating. This gives you an idea of the trainings that are available in Training Network Now. There are 750 titles with another 150 or so that have a bilingual. So lots of different topics. This is slightly different in terms of the format, but both of these working together really provide a solution that's simple and easy for you as an organization to manage and monitor. And also, as a member of the Utah Local Governments Trust, we're providing to you this free to you as part of the pilot program. Are there any questions that you have that I can answer?
So I think you addressed this, but I just wanted to clarify, make sure. You say it's a pilot program, and I heard you also say that as long as we're members of the trust, that it's free.
Yes, as part of this
after
pilot
that.
program, it will continue. Now, the one thing I ask in exchange for the pilot program as the trust, representing the trust, is that we get good feedback from you. We're interested in how this is working for you. We'll be able to set up your different departments with whatever management level you want. For example, Dave, would be set up as an administrator as well as Ralph and Mark, and you'd have different people. And also, I would recommend that we look at very carefully setting up your different departments so they can really assign classes. They can actually be fully involved in that and take on some of that responsibility and head those meetings up where there's discussion, on the training and what it meant to them.
Okay, I know that we have a contract now with another company I haven't looked at that contract to see what that looks like. But I'm sure Ralph has some thoughts or ideas with it as well. It'd be interesting to compare what they have, Contola has versus Relias that we have under contract right now on quality, on substance, on what's available to us and take a peek at it. But I mean, it always looks great, right, when you first are looking at it, and the fact that it comes with comes along with our membership in the trust is also a positive.
And we would work closely, with Mark and Ralph in evaluating that, looking at that, and making sure that it meets their goals and objectives as well.
Yeah.
So any way we can help is what we're really here to talk about and offer up to you. So thank you.
Any other thoughts, Commissioner?
Has Ralph looked at this already?
Yes.
I'm Ralph Barnes, HR. I've looked at it at a very high level. Steve and I spoke, earlier today about the system. It's hard to say how it, compares to the current system because I don't have all the details. I can tell you the current system is very robust and it does meet all of our needs. It has significant, content, has the ability to upload our own training. It keeps track of, curriculums and transcripts, and we're able to do, career, paths for employees where they can go to different levels of training. It's an extensive system, and it's been highly effective so far. Now, with that being said, the price is great, right, of this alternative. The timing is very bad just because the fact that we're just rolling out Relias. We spent a lot of time at the RFP. We invested a lot of time deciding what was the very best system for Utah County, invested a lot of time in setting up trainings. We've already, issued a lot of trainings. I do, something I'm more than willing to look at. I think it's an option. We should see what it really looks like and look at them side by side, like you had said, and see if it is something we can, go towards. And if it turns out it is, the equivalent, or at least it gives all the functionality that we really need, because we have a lot of licensure roles at Utah County who are able to keep track of their licensure requirements and get CEU, credits in Relias and use those transcripts to get their licensures update. There's a lot of savings of money in Relias. Again, this may have a lot of the same things. I'm just not sure. I haven't had a chance to really evaluate. So we do have a contract, as you know. I've asked Paul to look into the contract just to see what the terms are. I actually think it's a 5-year contract, but I've asked him to look into that to let me know what are the terms. And, if there's a way we can utilize this, I'm more than happy to look at it. I'm uncomfortable with having multiple training systems available for employees because it's hard enough to get them to use one system. So that's just a consideration. But Steve has indicated in the conversation we had earlier today, he's more than happy, to work with us, compare. I've already sent him a lot of information on Relias, so he can see that. He's going to send me information on his system, and then we should all sit down and look at what are the pros and cons, and if it is something we want to go forward with. Is there anything you guys have any questions you have for me?
Just that as you look at it, you might, do we do a parallel? Some departments use one platform, the other one use the other, or I'd have a mix in each department. This is just initial thoughts, nothing to really
That's not a bad idea. I know that the health department is already highly engaged with our new system, mosquito abatement, and some other departments have already set up a lot of their own training in Relias. They've essentially created training, uploaded in the system. Their employees are utilizing it. It's helping them go through onboarding. So it's been very effective for those departments. There are some of the other departments that haven't had a chance to really, get into Relias as much as we'd like. So maybe, law enforcement, for example, might be an opportunity. Although they were very excited about Relias because of the career paths. They're working on this system to move deputies up through the ranks, and they want to set it up in Relias with these career path responsibilities, where they step up higher and higher, and all these responsibilities essentially cascade down. So it's super complex. That's why the RFP took so much time, is we really wanted a system that would have all of these features. So an evaluation is absolutely appropriate, and a pretty in-depth evaluation. And then if there is a way to use it in, concert with our current system, I'm certainly not opposed to that. And perhaps there's something we can do with the contract if we, reduce the number of employees, because that's how we pay. We pay on the number of employees, but as it's set up right now, it's unlimited access to all employees for all courses, which is over 1,000 courses in Relias. So anyway, there's a lot of angles here, a lot of things to think about. It's not a bad idea for us to look at, and we will look at every option. And Steve said he's more than willing to look at all the options as well, so we can somehow find, middle ground, synergy where we can, get the best of both worlds. So.
Thanks.
You bet.
Thanks, Ralph.
Yep, and that's what we want, is to be able to look at it, look at them side by side and know. And I don't know what the contract is. Usually there's 5 years. Sometimes there's possible out clauses that are on it too. And we need to just look at the whole thing all the way through and take a peek at it, see what would be best. Okay.
Commissioners.
Right. Yes.
Commissioners, while Steve is here, could he speak to the availability of the Arbinger Institute training? That's something that our department has used, and I know there's a program for that, and there's more people in the county, I think, that would benefit from that particular program. And then also a related point to the LMS, we do have a participant cap, so to speak, within the pricing of our contract. And so, like in our own department, we have time-limited, sort of temporary or part-time staff who generally are not in Relias. And so perhaps, some departments would be willing to use a second system to service those employees that wouldn't otherwise be serviced in Relias. And our department at least would be willing to sort of entertain that as an option to kind of test it out.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I can work with Ralph on that. Again, for our, the platform that we have, our data shows that anytime we can get good training out, especially when it's required by management in these key areas, part-time, we've had some of the biggest claims ever in the trust from some of our part-time employees. And so this would apply to all of those, and there is no time limitation or, courses that can't be taken or anything like that. So that's all open. Thank you for bringing up the Arbinger Institute. Let me just speak to that briefly. The Utah Local Governments Trust as well provides its members free access to the Arbinger 2-day training, which is the developing and implementing an outward mindset. I have a team, I actually facilitate and have a team of about 14 facilitators around the state that join me on that and actually do the facilitation as well. And we would be more than happy to provide this service for Utah County. It is free of charge for members. The cost of that, if you were to go up to if you were to go up to Farmington and just sign up for it, it's $895 per person. So we provide that and have provided that in the past, and we've done it for thousands of our members across the state. It's extremely effective. What it does is it gets us in a group, and we actually do it online right now, but we get together in a group, and it gives an opportunity to really discuss some very key and critical issues around personal accountability and how we actually play a role in conflict and how to overcome that. It's been very effective. We've had great reviews and really game-changing in many, many regards. The thing I like about the Arbinger concept is that as facilitators, we don't stand up as experts on the content, right? I mean, we stand up as experts on knowing what it's like to be in the box and having the issues that we're all trying to work on. And that's the difference. This isn't a self-help deal. I mean, this is a long-term deep dive looking at a very introspective look at how we play a role in our organizations in making things happen. And so to that extent, we have a facilitation coming up on the 7th and 8th, but we can get you as many seats as you would like for future engagements. That's full. That fills up in about 20, 30 minutes. And so, but we can actually do a special engagement for Utah County based on your size and be glad to do that and provide that again free of charge as part of your membership.
Fantastic. Any
Does
other?
that cover that?
Any others? I mean, this is a work session. Any other thoughts or comments? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for your time and thank you
Thanks,
for your
Steve.
service.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Steve.
All right, Mayor. And everybody else. Come on up if you're going to participate. You can always come sit here close.
All right, Commissioner Lee, Commissioner Sakovich, thank you for having Eagle Mountain here. We're always excited to talk about our city and the great things that are happening there. So thanks for giving us some time. I am Tom Westmoreland, Mayor of Eagle Mountain, and I have with me Paul Jerome, our city administrator, Steve Mumford, our assistant city administrator, and Aaron Sanborn, our economic development director. So I will turn it over to Mr. Jerome, and if you have any questions for me, I'm here and available. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, I'm Paul Jerome. I'm the City Administrator for Eagle Mountain City, and I know Aaron Sanborn, our Economic Development Director, sent these slides to you just this afternoon. And you know, we'd like to answer any questions, but I'm wondering if it would be profitable for you guys if Aaron went through these slides and did the presentation of those to you in person.
Sure.
If you'd like us to do that. Okay, so I'll turn the time over to Aaron and we can answer questions after that.
Thank you, Paul. Commissioners, again, Aaron Sanborn, Economic Development Director for Eagle Mountain City. It's great to be able to meet with you today, to be able to talk about this potential project coming to Eagle Mountain. I know we've had some conversations, but it's good to be able to continue these, and we always appreciate the partnership that we have with the county on these. So background with this project is that it's a community reinvestment area that we're proposing in the south part of Eagle Mountain, directly adjacent to the Facebook data center. It's roughly 327 acres in size. Currently, it's completely vacant. The land is valued at $1.28 million. The taxable value, because of Greenbelt and other things, it's only taxed at just around $2,400. So currently not generating very much property tax for any of the entities. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at this potential project. Obviously, these CRAs are designed for three main purposes: to stimulate capital investment development. We feel that this project area would be able to bring in this user for an enterprise level data center. Also to promote job creation, both obviously for the actual project itself, but also through ancillary things, other support services, and obviously construction. And then obviously ultimately expanding the tax base as well, and doing so significantly based on the current value of the property. Just wanted to note that obviously this is not the result of a tax increase for any of the entities. The taxing entities will continue to receive those base year taxes that we currently are. I think Utah County is just shy of $2 a year for the property. But this is just a portion of the new property taxes being created, going back to the RDA within this boundary. So some of the details for the project is that obviously, like I said, this is for a data center that would be roughly about 300,000 square feet in the initial investment. Their capital investment would initially be about $600 million, but being assessed at roughly $470 million initially. The length that has been proposed and discussed in order for the project to be able to move forward is 20 years per phase, capped out 40 years total, similar to the arrangement with the Facebook CRA. The participation rate for all taxing entities starts at 100% of the personal property, and that is largely because most of the areas where data centers operate, they already don't have a personal property tax, and so that puts us at a competitive disadvantage for these projects. And then for the real property, it would be at what's currently proposed at 67.5%. I will add a note that initially when the company first made their request to us, they had requested 75% for that, and through negotiating with them, we've been able to reduce that down to where it is currently proposed. The participation is the same across all the different entities, and currently, the Eagle Mountain City has approved the interlocal agreement with the RDA to be able to participate, as well as the RDA board approving the plan and budget. Like I mentioned, currently, all taxing entities receive just shy of $26 a year for these 327 acres of land. And again, we would continue to receive these whether the project goes forward or not. Utah County has that portion of about $2 each year for this property. I wanted to show this just really quickly. This is not the current proposal, obviously. This is what was initially proposed at 75%. And the reason to show this is just to show the increase that it will be realized by each of the taxing entities. And this is under that, the 75% proposal. So this is the 25% that would have come to the taxing entities. Again, with the recent negotiations that have happened with this project, there's now an additional percentage coming to the taxing entities, totaling 32.5% of the real property flowing through to the taxing entities, which for Utah County, an increase from the initial proposal, that's roughly $265,000 additional dollars over the lifetime of a phase for this. Each of the taxing entities would see an increase from what was initially proposed and requested by the project. The uses of the of course, everyone participating to bring in over about $3.9 million to the RDA to use according to the approved plan and budget, which would be 2.5% remaining with the RDA for administrative costs to run the RDA, for different studies that are required to be done, and to further the economic development efforts within Eagle Mountain City. The 10% housing requirement being mandated by state law allows us a lot of flexibility, and this is one of the benefits of these projects that we feel. This one will bring in a total of $7.8 million, or about $390,000 each year, to the RDA for us to be able to use to promote and support affordable housing. The state statute says that we can use it within the bounds of our agency, the Eagle Mountain City boundaries, or we can find ways to be able to partner with other entities, other organizations throughout the state, throughout the county, to be able to provide that benefit to support affordable housing. And that, I think, furthers our economic development efforts as we're looking to create the workforce that will be able to work in these different industries. This is one of those components where we can take more of an active role in helping to support that. And we are exploring a lot of different options currently as far as how we can use those funds and what's going to provide the greatest benefit, not just for the city, but for the county, for the residents of this area, because these funds can be used for a lot of different purposes. Just real briefly with kind of how the life cycle of the phases go. On this graph, you see the new increment given to the RDA in purple. That's the funds that, that 100% of personal property and 67.5% of real property that goes to the RDA to carry out the budget. That green bar is the new increment that is retained by the taxing entities. So for Utah County, that's that 32.5% that stays with each of the entities. And obviously, once that falls off at year 21, the taxing entities get the full amount. There is that kind of dip and climb back in there because obviously the personal property does depreciate in value, but there is reinvestment in that in order to keep their operations running. And then, even though you can't see it, there is a small blue portion on the chart as well. That is what the current base year revenue being retained by the taxing entities. So that's that $25, $26 a year that's retained. So obviously, on a project of this scale, that revenue, even though we continue to receive it, it doesn't really register on that scale. Some of one of the things we wanted to highlight with this is kind of the reasons behind the why we would bring this forward, why we think it's a positive for not only the city, but each of the taxing entities. The company would be looking to invest, somewhere around the realm of $70+ million initially for infrastructure. Those amounts and the infrastructure is still being decided upon based on the engineering requirements, based on some of those studies that are going on. But that is what we anticipate would initially be put in as a result of this project coming in. That has the capacity to grow. Obviously, they hope to do a phased approach to this similar to Facebook. And as their operations expand, those numbers would continue to go up. And some of those projects, they're not just tied directly to this project, but that they would benefit the rest of our system, as well as some of the regional projects as well when it comes to water. I know there's a water pipeline planned by Central Utah Water Conservancy District that would be benefited as a result of this project. The development agreement that we have currently working on with this project would require key milestones be met in order for the project to go forward. You know, we don't want to just have an open-ended book saying do whatever you want, but the development agreement has those key milestones to say you have to meet these certain deadlines, these certain criteria in order for us to be able to approve this. And I know with our interlocal agreement with the county for the Facebook CRA, I know there was language built in there that commented on saying, here's what is contemplated in the development agreement between the two parties. Our participation is contingent on these conditions being met. And we would, we were open to discuss kind of a similar setup here with this project to be able to make sure that we're not just giving an open-ended book. As well, one of the benefits of the infrastructure is that there is a water reuse system being planned as a result of the project. The water being used in these data centers is relatively clean water that can be used for irrigation and can also be used in the future for secondary water systems to be able to reduce some of the demand that we have in our city when it comes to just using culinary water for everything. And so that's one of the additional benefits that is being built into this project that we started with Facebook, and this industry is able to continue. Job creation, even though most people
Can I ask you one thing on
absolutely.
the water reuse? Is there any room for exchanging water between Facebook and this other entity?
Not directly between those two, but there are other industries that we have spoken to who are very interested in using kind of this industrial reuse water, because their processes don't require the super high clean standards, but this water would work great for them. And so there are other businesses that we are currently talking with or have approached us that would be interested in using this water. And obviously we have use for it on our parks and potentially looking for kind of residential use in the future, but there are other industries that are very interested in that kind of reuse water.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So with the job creation, most people, we don't typically think of data centers being super high job creators, and they're not, admittedly. Facebook, they have 50 employees directly for their first phase and about 150 or so kind of ancillary support positions. And they'd be pretty similar with this company here. Other sites that they have, they've mentioned hundreds of employees of direct jobs, and that includes kind of the direct frontline employees that work in the data center, but also those support services. But we've seen studies that have shown that every direct job created by a data center supports approximately 5 additional jobs throughout the surrounding area, whether that be in kind of some of the trades and other support services. And then construction, similarly, would be very comparable to what we see with Facebook, where there's about 1,000 to 1,400 construction workers on site each day at the Facebook site. And that will extend, for an undetermined period of time right now, but with Facebook having just announced their the next 2 buildings of their development, they announced that about a month and a half ago. That will continue construction for an additional 3+ years, and then they have more land to expand. So we can see these data center campuses having construction going for a decade. And so those aren't just, we're here, we're gone, but those are our long-term support jobs. When it came to the Facebook project, Mortensen Construction, who's their general contractor for the entire project, initially came over to support the project and to plan that and run that. And it ended up with them opening up an office in Salt Lake City, a permanent office to be able to continue those efforts. And that's some of the things that we've seen with our current projects with Facebook and Tyson is that they do bring in kind of those support industries that put down permanent roots here in the area. Both Facebook and Tyson have been very active as community partners with a number of different organizations. You know, we've accounted for at least $1.3 million that have been donated to different groups, whether that's Alpine School District, whether that's through Tabitha's Way, the United Way of Utah County, Make-A-Wish Foundation. There's so many different organizations that they've partnered with to be able to provide support. During the pandemic, Facebook did 2 different grant programs for small businesses. You know, one that was targeted towards Eagle Mountain, but one that was targeted towards the entire Utah County area. And that's some of the benefit that comes as a result of these projects. This company does have a strong history of partnering in communities, supporting different initiatives for workforce development, education, and things like of that nature. Additionally, we do see additional tax revenues come in as a result of these projects. The U.S. Chamber Technology Engagement Study looked at the benefit, the impact at large of data centers, and saw that during the construction phase, state and local revenues saw an increase of about $9.9 million as a result of construction, and contributed about $32.5 million in annual economic activity to the area. We can see that anecdotally, even in Eagle Mountain City, even though at the somewhat reduced commercial activity we have compared to some other entities. You know, just as one very small example, the Holiday Oil gas station that's in Eagle Mountain City, that's really close to these areas, is their highest performing gas station in the entire state. That may seem like a very small thing, but considering that there's not very many people driving through Eagle Mountain City, we're not on I-15, to have that kind of impact is directly attributable to this kind of industry because of what they're bringing in right now, and then the other industries that come in as a result of them. One of the other things that we've discussed at length with Facebook is that it's not just the employees who live and work in the area that are working at the data center. They will be bringing in additional workers on a daily basis who fly in from other locations to train, to attend conferences at the data centers and whatnot. Facebook alone, within a 16-month period at a fully built-out site, saw an additional 2,000 hotel nights as a result of those employees. And that obviously results in increased transient room tax for the entities who have that. And there's increased benefit that comes as a result of that, even if it's not directly from the property tax revenue that's assigned to that area. I've mentioned several times kind of additional industries that have come in as a result of these projects. And that's one of the benefits of these highly capitalized projects that we see a need to create a CRA for, is that it brings in these other projects that don't require tax increment financing. Not every project I think that we see is going to be that same way, where some of these, like I mentioned, very highly capitalized projects, in order to make it work, in order to be competitive with other locations, they need this kind of incentive to be able to make our site more attractive than North Carolina or Oregon or other locations like that. But we have seen other projects coming in that don't ask us for any tax increment financing, that we tell, no, we're not going to do this because it's not going to bring the same benefit. And we have seen those companies starting to explore developing in Eagle Mountain City as a result of these larger projects. And then finally, just as I mentioned before, the affordable housing, we really see that as a great benefit that is going to start being realized just this next year with the Eagle Mountain RDA, with us starting to receive some of those funds from the Facebook project. Those dollars, the state does regulate, in some ways how those are used, but it does give us great flexibility to be able to find projects that make sense to support affordable housing. And some of the things that have been done are, building or buying units directly and managing those for lower income individuals. Down payment assistance programs. There are some that we've seen that are targeted towards public safety, where it helps public safety individuals to be able to afford more of a down payment, to be able to get them into housing that is affordable for them. as well as rehabilitation of housing units. We are able to, and we've kind of talked briefly with the Provo City Housing Authority just about some of the different programs that they have that could be supported by projects like this, as well as other kind of transit-oriented developments that are kind of popping up throughout the county. These can potentially help things like that. And we are happy to explore whatever options are there that not just benefit the city, because we could keep the revenue all for ourselves, but then there's so much, I think, more that could be done economically as we partner with different organizations, different entities, to be able to use those dollars to the maximum benefit. And we're excited for that and happy to see kind of what different ways there are that we can provide a benefit to the entire county, so that the economic development that's occurring in Eagle Mountain has more of a direct benefit towards the rest of the county. And with that, if there are any questions, if you wanted to discuss anything, and we're happy to do that. And thank you again for being willing to engage with us in this process.
Thank you, Aaron. I know we've talked by Zoom and so forth, back and forth on this. I wanted to, Dave, do you have any comments or questions? I just want to give you an opportunity. I know that you've expressed some thoughts my way too.
Well, I mean, I have kind of gone through and created a list of issues that we might want to consider, but that's probably something with the commissioners individually
Okay.
that we have to address.
Okay. A couple questions maybe from me. First, when the Facebook deal came through, and I've expressed this to you, so it's not new, and it was an 80-100. It was a hard swallow for me to vote for that, but it was based on an anchor location, an anchor company coming in to kind of start and kickstart with Eagle Mountain, looking for something that would spur, and this deal looks similar to, I mean, even referenced it as, similar to Facebook. Not quite the same, I get it, but and so how do I get past that? Because some of the thoughts that were headed my direction was, go with us on this, and most of the ones that come after that are not going to be at this level, and more than likely they'll be less or at zero, which I heard again. So how do I get past that?
That's a very good question. Our council's had those same concerns. Through this process that we've gone through with Facebook and Tyson, and also with Project Fremont, in order to get these entities here, 0% will never get them here. They'll just go somewhere else. With Eagle Mountain City's location, our mayor put it best. This economic development area in Eagle Mountain, actually there's two major ones that we've formed in Eagle Mountain, are basically our I-15. In order to be able to keep taxes low for our residents and the citizens of this county, we need to have that offset, that tax base offset. The city loses money on residents, and that's not uncommon for any city. There have been studies done for both Provo and Orem that show the different levels of, from homes, multifamily homes, all the way up to homes on acreage, that cities lose money on those. And so from a property tax perspective, every dollar that we bring in property tax on a resident home, we lose up to as much as $2.50 according to those studies. And it's the exact opposite on commercial and industrial. They have a lot of their own security, fire suppression systems, and things like that on site. So their service levels from the city are a lot lower. So with every property tax dollar they spend, it costs a lot less for the city to administer services to them. We had a study commissioned for Facebook before they came that showed basically, even at the high increment that was approved for Facebook, how much the city actually gained above and beyond what it cost for the city to service them. And although Commissioner Lee, as you've mentioned, this is 67.5% versus 80%. It is lower. It's not a lot lower, but it is lower. And we've worked very hard to try to negotiate better terms for all taxing entities to be able to try to bring that number down. You know, Tyson came in the 60s as well. They're an anchor in our other location. We do see with data centers, though, that the service costs for us are a lot lower than some of these other entities will be coming. And so I think that's reflected in the increment being a little higher than what Tyson came in at, and lower than Facebook to show that, you know, Facebook was first. They got the best terms, and Fremont's not going to get that. So I don't know if that explains that adequately, but those are just the you know, things that we face with these projects within our city, specifically data centers.
And I get that. I don't know if that makes me feel better or not, but I understand, you know, the methodology behind it, of where you're trying to go with it.
Mind if I add a few words in that,
Sure.
you know, pursuing that thought? You know, as a mayor, one of my responsibilities is vision for the future. And I don't have any maps with me, but I'm sure you've all, you know, seen maps of the Utah Valley area, and we can compare that to the Cedar Valley. Utah Valley, Cedar Valley are very nearly the same size, with one significant difference. Cedar Valley has no lake in it. So we've been told that projections forecast some pretty amazing growth for Utah County over the next couple of decades. And so during this construction time, these construction decades that we're talking about right now, even in this very project, Northern Utah County in particular is going to see a lot of growth. You know, somewhere hovering around a million additional people, and many of those will be in the northwest part of Utah County. So, so when it comes to planning the future of Cedar Valley, no disrespect to the very fine cities of Fairfield and Cedar Fort, but the people that are really going to be deciding what the future of Cedar Valley looks like are pretty much in this room. It's going to be between Eagle Mountain and Utah County to really figure out what that future is going to look like, particularly for all of the people that are going to be moving into Cedar Valley. So the increase will be much more than even what we see currently in Eagle Mountain. So we're looking at, you know, how do we manage all of that growth? How do we pay for all the infrastructure? How do we get there? And Commissioner Lee, I mean, you've got a valid point. I mean, you know, what is all this worth to us in these tax increment propositions, right? So now we have, fortunately for us, as has been mentioned, with Facebook, we've got, you know, as anecdotal as it is, it actually is empirical. We're seeing the growth, right? Right in front of our eyes, as far as all of the positive economic impact that Facebook itself, that data center has brought. Tyson would not be in our city if Facebook weren't there. And I won't go through a laundry list of all of the brands that are coming to Eagle Mountain currently that have requested no tax increment, but certainly make up the you know, huge growth in what we anticipate as tax revenue. I mean, it's when I say anticipate, those can be projected quite reliably, you know, based upon, you know, because when you're talking about you know, grocery stores, you know what they're going to do. You know, McDonald's, Wendy's, you know, you just go down the list of all of the brands that are coming. You know, it's pretty easy to get a fairly clear picture of what that economic impact is going to be. So so I would propose to you that something like a data center with its very low negative impact, but a lot of positives, would be another installment in working toward getting both Eagle Mountain and the Cedar Valley into a position to be economically viable, anticipating that growth that's going to come. So you know, in my visionary position here, you know, I invite all to envision with me all of the other companies that will come as a result of each of these data centers, not just Facebook, but Fremont as well. And you know, we're seeing it now. So it's what I'm proposing is really not a gamble because we have the track record. We're seeing it, and so from my perspective, that investment is well worth the return. We'll see a much greater return. The alternative is then you know, I would ask, and again, I totally understand that question. I get it, but what's our alternative then? What is, if we're not willing to give a little bit now, how do we get there later? And this is something that we have had to face. You know, it's just our cold hard realities of how do we build an economy, being a bedroom community, and not just a bedroom community, but one that's staring right down the barrel of massive growth. And how do we manage that? How are we prepared for that? How do we get there, make sure we're in the right spot in 20 years when all of those people are here? So that's my,
Well, and
that's my vision.
no disrespect, but how long did it take to get the Facebook deal? I mean, how many years did you work? And not
took
just
quite a
Facebook,
few.
but I mean, it took years and years. I mean, you were chasing after them for a long, long time, trying to find somebody to land there. And Facebook landed, and then right after, here comes Tyson, here comes Sweetwater, here comes others that are knocking on the door, and the time had shortened in the sense of companies, and now you have others that are coming too. I'm sure this isn't the last, and you have others that are coming, and I think it proves the point that the anchor is paying off. And so for me, the question is, if the anchor is paying off, why are we giving it away when it seems like there are people and there are groups and there are companies that want to come? That was the risk and the gamble was, let's see if this actually pans out and works. And so, I mean, that's where I'm trying to bounce it, you know, for me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I remember sitting there with EFO and you and others, and, you know, and it was kind of a wringing of the hands a little bit. Should we go this direction or not? And looking at the vision for it. And I bought into that. Because I said, you know what, if this is a city that wants to go down this direction, and it sounds like you still want to go down this direction, I'll take and I'll call it a political hit, you know, to say, let's go there. And now I'm looking at it again, staring the same thing and wondering. And then another question that I have is this 40 years. This 40 years troubles me. It troubles me because the chart that was put up there, it showed 20 years and then dropping off, and I get it per phase, you know, right? You get the next phase on, it goes from there 20 years again, and the next phase 20 years after that, all the way to a cap of 40. But the 40 years on there seems like a golden deal, and why wouldn't? And I'm looking at it from a business standpoint. Why wouldn't the business try to get all they possibly can? Because if they can get the same deal, close to, or in some respects exactly the same deal as Facebook gave, which was the best deal that we probably could have given at the time, I would be fighting for that too. And so that 40 years is troubling to me. I know we've talked about it. I don't know if we need to go over it, but it's just a point that I have concerns about. I don't know why we couldn't say 20 years and then you come back on your next phase and we'll negotiate again, because the terms may be different. And we may look at it and say, we've got a lot of companies coming here. We got a lot of opportunity. We're gonna renegotiate. When we put it out 40 years, I think that ties our hands to a certain extent. And then one of the biggest things, and I know you're gonna probably hate that I say this, and I know there's gonna be another entity that hates that I say this, but I do not like that there's a $200,000 per phase money that will go to the Alpine School District to, I guess it's a nonprofit organization. And that's never accounted for in anything that we're looking at. And I believe that that's per phase, per year.
It is.
And
I think
that really bothers me. To me, that looks like Chicago politics in a certain, and I'm gonna just state it the way I see it. It looks like, hey, they're the biggest fish in this thing. If we can get them to drop on it, we can probably get the little ones right after. And so let's sweeten the deal. But by sweetening the deal, they wind up increasing the price or increasing everything else for us. I don't like that. It really bugs me.
Commissioner, yeah, I just wanted to clarify, I do believe it's actually $250,000 per phase, so I wanted to make sure.
That doesn't
the
make me
records-
feeling better.
I know it would, I didn't, I'm not saying it should. But yeah, so that was proposed by the company itself to Alpine School District, I'm told. I checked in with the assistant superintendent there, Rob Smith, and that was something, I guess this project is done in other areas, so this wasn't.
Yeah,
this
I'm glad
wasn't
you're
proposed-
clarifying that,
yeah,
and I
so-
understood that, and I think
Okay.
that's fair to say.
And then if I could go back to the 40 years really briefly, I do think obviously the entity in themselves wants to be able to try to insulate themselves for the future and make sure that they can actually grow on the site. It's similar to what Facebook's doing. Each one of these phases is almost looked onto as an economic development opportunity unto themselves. They're highly capitalized, both from a real and personal property standpoint. And so, some of the other entities that we've had knock on our door, they don't even come close to just one phase, and yet these projects are looking at potentially expanding, just like Facebook's already done, well beyond just this one phase. And so each one of these, obviously, these phases will have a 20-year increment in and of themselves. And that 40-year sunset is it's there to try to actually speed that process up and getting them to expand those phases sooner rather than later, because if they come in at year 25 with their last phase, they're only going to get 15 years on that because of that sunset. So that phase ends up having doesn't get a 20-year increment, it gets a 15-year increment. So I think that's at least to try to show a little bit about how I think that these entities look at that, so that they can actually continue to expand. All indications are that the land that they're looking at would indicate that they will continue to expand just like Facebook's done. So, and also just kind of go back to some of the things that Mayor Westmoreland had said. We've got an actual shopping center that's being fast-tracked right now in what's called our city center, or the Cedar Valley portion of Eagle Mountain, and there's a lot of demand we're hearing for space in that area, and we're seeing that as a direct reflection on having Facebook and Tyson in those areas. That would not have happened yet if it weren't for those two entities. So we're seeing those types of entities that drive other taxes besides just property tax, but sales tax and things like that. Opportunities for not only jobs for our residents, but not having to travel outside of our boundaries to get the things that they need. They can get it locally. That benefits the city too. When
And that's
people shop
fantastic.
within
It's
the city,
doing
it
what
does.
we anticipated.
Right.
And I
yeah.
think that's, that was the whole reason for that plunge, and to take that jump.
Yeah, and I think, to your point about the difference in the increment between Facebook and Project Fremont, it's a balancing act when you negotiate with these companies, because they're going to try to get the best terms they possibly can. We're going to try to get the best terms we can possibly get.
Get it?
At the end of the day, if we get to that point where another site is better, then they're going to move on. And unfortunately, we don't get a crystal ball with these things. We can't see where that floor is, and that's why negotiation is so interesting. Wish I could say it was fun, but it's just interesting. So, but that's what we've been trying to do. Again, going down from 75%, which was the increment that has been there since the beginning. We've pressed them really hard. We as a city team has, all the way up until the 12th hour, basically until our own RDA approved the plan and budget for this project, as well as passed the interlocal, or the city passed the interlocal with the RDA. So, but we continue to try to as Aaron alluded to, some of the concerns we've heard from you as commissioner is at what point in time do they make that commitment that they're actually going to build? And that's what we're trying to do through the developmental agreement, is set some guidelines as to what they have to approve and when, so that we have basically the assurance that they're going to do what what they say they're going to do, and that we all approved an agreement with them to do. So.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm curious on the infrastructure summary it talks about the substantial infrastructure development must occur before, et cetera, power, road, water, sewer, fiber, natural gas. They were going to do that. We have an idea that what is it like in comparison to Facebook?
Aaron probably could answer this question better than I, but just overall, it doesn't seem to be for this first phase for them as great. But I think it's because their phasing is a little smaller than Facebook's.
Okay.
But they are having to put in a lot of infrastructure.
They'll tie into whatever Facebook already put in, and I guess expand it.
They have to create. There will be some of that, but mostly they're going to have to do their own because of what their needs are going to be, and especially if they go beyond this first phase, they'll have to create that capacity that they need. So I don't know, Aaron, is there anything more you want to add to that?
I think Paul answered it fairly well. When we look at the initial investment with Facebook was roughly $150 million of infrastructure. They did approach it a little bit different in that they built that infrastructure initially that would have allowed them to grow several phases. And so it wasn't just we're building what we need for right now, but we're going to build what we need for like the next 3 or 4 phases. With this project, even though that initial number, like I mentioned, is somewhere around $70 million or so, it would require in the future additional investments in those utilities to be able to continue to expand. But it's just what kind of like Paul mentioned, the differences in how they are choosing to develop. Their phases are a little bit smaller in scope than what we saw with Facebook, but still requiring that infrastructure. And like Paul mentioned, I'll just kind of add on to it, they're having to bring in additional capacity into all those different utilities, the different infrastructure components that so that they're not taking away what has already been committed to Facebook, but also so that they're not jeopardizing the rest of our system. As we've done kind of some of this initial water modeling and trying to figure things out. Without these investments, it would put a massive burden, to the effect of not being able to service the rest of our residents. And so these improvements would be required for their project, but also to maintain our level of service for the rest of the city.
Okay. I'm curious, how's the economic development been going? You touched on it already, but since Facebook has been established, you've talked about a strip mall or other things coming. What do you see coming over the next 12, 24 months just from Facebook alone?
Aaron alluded to the fact that the Holiday Oil there, it's just right there in the corner of Pony Express Parkway and Eagle Mountain Boulevard, is the busiest in the state. And that in and of itself, given its location, is a miracle. I'll just put it that way. That doesn't just happen from anything we're doing. We are still a bedroom community and far enough away from the Wasatch Front corridor that we don't have drive-through. I can't remember if it was Mayor or Aaron that mentioned, no disrespect. I think it was Mayor, no disrespect to Cedar Fort and Fairfield, but there's just not a lot of pass-through, and that's what drives the daytime population. And so these companies, Facebook and Tyson, especially because of the construction, but also just jobs in of themselves, have turned the traffic around. I've talked to several of our department heads and employees who live in other cities, namely like Lehigh and Saratoga Springs, and it used to be that coming to Eagle Mountain it didn't matter what time of day you came to Eagle Mountain. Yeah, you had a free shot through and no traffic, and that's changed, and that's what's helping to drive some of that economic development. And again, this shopping area that it's actually just west of City Hall that I talked about, that would not be anywhere close to coming to fruition if it weren't for these two entities. So that's actually helping to drive all other economic development activities. And, you know, if we want to be a viable community well into the future, and not have to raise taxes astronomically, we do need that economic development to offset the tax base. That evens it out, and makes it so that, you know, the expenses that above and beyond what the citizens actually pay in property tax are basically covered by the positive separation between the amount that we bring in and the amount that we have to expend to service industry. That helps offset that and even that out. And, you know, to this point in our history, we've struggled until we got Facebook and Tyson, you know, and coming in here, we struggled with that. And, you know, we are growing and continue to grow, so it's kind of like that keeps getting pushed off. But eventually, if we don't have, you know, commercial and industry in the city of Eagle Mountain, we'll suffer at some point in time in our history. So these are a very positive impact from that standpoint. So I'll turn the time over to Steve if you have something to add.
Oh, the mayor asked me to share a couple of thoughts here or data. Like Paul said, we are growing rapidly. We're a month ahead of where we were last year on total building permits, which last year was record-breaking by a large margin for previous years, as far as residential growth. So commercial growth, we have about 60 active commercial building permits right now, which is far higher than we've ever seen in the past. Those, of course, are all over the city, but most of those are occurring currently down close to City Hall in that area near Facebook. So Paul had mentioned the Holiday Oil. Because of the data center, directly because of the data center, they're just finishing the expansion of their gas pumps to be able, because they've been doing so well and they see a need for the semi-trucks and the construction vehicles to be able to fill up there as well. So they're just finishing that expansion. Another Holiday Oil is just opening up on the other part of town, on the north side of town as well, on the highway. And that is the path of the Facebook traffic, the construction vehicles for Tyson and Facebook. And that's the reason, as they've talked to us about that expansion, that's the reason. They just opened that actually a few months ago. But then our grocery store, we have a Macy's grocery store that's just getting started. They're going to break ground in the next month, right by City Hall. And as part of that, like you said, the strip center or the shopping center there, there are about, I know for sure there are 6 other companies for the pad sites that are ready to start construction this year. They still have to go through permitting and approvals, but the developer there told me recently, he used the word mind-blowing on the interest, the retail interest in that area. And it's not, yes, they're planning ahead for the residential growth because it's starting to shift from the ranches area down south into the Cedar Valley and city center area, but it can't be directly attributable to the existing residential homes that are there because the rooftops aren't there yet to support that. Thank you.
And just, do I need to keep saying my name? I hope, okay. I know our city recorder makes sure that that's done, but I keep coming up here. One of the things I wanted to point out too, in kind of along the same lines of what Steve was talking about, is that there is a housing shortage in the state right now, specifically along the Wasatch Front, and we see that in every community right now. One of the things that with the residential growth in Eagle Mountain that we're struggling with is areas that we have zoned as commercial, again, going back to wanting to make sure that we preserve that and we have those opportunities to offset the tax base for the residents, is that there's no shortage of need to convert some of that over to residential. But it's a fine line there that we have to tread between making sure that we're still providing homes for the residents of this county, trying to keep housing prices low, but also making sure we have enough room for commercial as well to help offset that tax base. So it is a fine line that we're trying to tread. The longer that it goes, that we have to, push that off, and that we have that pressure to convert commercial areas over to residential, the harder it will be to make sure that we offset that tax base in the future. So again, along those lines, these projects do bring in a lot of affordable housing dollars, which we hope to help keep that, balance out that fine line and make sure we can try to keep affordable housing opportunities for not only our residents but the county as well. And we're trying to devise a plan right now by which we do that very thing, because some of those amounts from Facebook and Tyson are going to begin flowing. And so we need to be able to have opportunities to be able to use that effectively and benefit the residents of the city and the county. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you. And
Appreciate
hopefully your drive back will be nice and easy.
Thank you. Thank you again for your time.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. That puts us at the end of our work sessions. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, since we wore everybody out, we will move into our closed meetings. Thank you.